right, well, thank you guys for joining us on another episode of KSI's Channel 7 News. This podcast today, we are featuring two guests from the VH-XH split. We have Heathen and Aramax with us, along with my co-host, Chef. And
Hello.
today we're just going to kind of talk about what splitting VH and XH's early days, what kind of has been going on for you guys, and various other topics. So just kind of start us off, can you give us like your perspectives on like what was the road to splitting that division?
All right. So this is Heathen. For those of you that don't know me, at the time I was div lead over VH as we were going to split. As as VH came over and as we worked on splitting, it was actually fairly easy to be honest. I mean, we had some great leaders, awesome people who really just gave their time and dedication to the division to help it grow. Of course, along the way there were some speed bumps here and there. Probably could have split a little bit sooner without having some issues go on, but just like every great thing, it comes with some couple little spikes in there too, couple of thorns. Just like if you look at a rose is a beautiful thing, turns out perfect, but it has thorns. With that being said, I couldn't have done it without New Blue, who was my right hand man. Air Max here, working hard to get where he has gotten to take over Viking Horde. They were both great leaders. New Blue definitely stood apart and not only worked as a co-div lead, he also worked hard side by side with me. There was no, okay, I'm the div lead, you're the co-div. There was none of that. Whenever it came down to leading, whenever it came down to making decisions, the decision was made as a single decision factor. There was never a decision made inside of my division that did not involve all of my div staff. With that being said, I I believe that's one of Viking Horde and Xiled Horde's greatest things is that we don't we're not your ordinary leadership. We're not the type of leadership who says, "Hey, you're a co-founder, you have to do what I say." Or, "Hey, you're a co-founder, my decision overrides yours." No, if I was doing something and there was a decision to be made, each of my div staff were involved. Now, however, if some of those decisions were a little, leaned one way, or maybe some of those decisions weren't exactly what I thought was best, we would give our viewpoints. We would, kind of debate what would be best for the community or the division to help it grow. And at the end of the day, VH grew at a very, very solid rate. All of our people became close, with the exception of a few bad seeds. And ultimately, the main thing that led to VH splitting was the good leaders that we had in place.
I like how you stated that you incorporated keeping everyone involved. Everyone's decisions were respected, and honestly, that seems to really work and mesh well for you guys. As well, I mean, of course, you guys managed to split, and you've got great leadership. Um, my question to you then, did that cohesiveness and sense of togetherness and all of that kind of work just stop at the COFA level, or were you even involving squad leaders and just like giving them ownership to their squads?
So, as a leader, even in the past, because I have been a div leader in the past as well. As a leader, I believe that squad leaders have full control over their squads. There was never a decision made, and I even told my co-founders, I told my founder, I told my co-div lead, whenever it comes to squad decisions, you're there to supervise, but you are not there to make those decisions. If your squad leader comes to you for advice, that's what you're there for. However, each squad has their own personality. So you do not intervene inside of your squad unless they come to you and ask for help or you see an issue that is causing a rift inside that squad. So yes, every squad leader has their own reign over their squads.
I think that is definitely something unique. It definitely hasn't been mentioned in previous talks as far as when we were talking about leadership. I do like that they have a handle on their squads, they can make those decisions, and that those decisions, as long as they were within reason, are, respected and everything like that. And is I like the just all of the different conversation and like the layers to the leadership style that you led VH with. Aramax, do you have anything you want to add to any of that, or did he then pretty much like just sum it up?
Yeah, no, honestly, Hayden did a really good job. As far as me, my look at with the split was, we had a very good officer corps, and we had great squad leaders, as he said. My personal opinion, that's like what makes a great division. It's the members in it, the officers in it, the squad leaders in it, the divisional staff in it. When we all can work as one, and kind of just combine all of our knowledge and all of our thoughts together, anything's possible. We showed that we split within, I forget, Heathen, how long was it since we split and then
Around
we split again?
it was around 3.5 months.
Yeah, so 3.5 months roughly. I was a co-founder for a while, and then I split a couple squads, or I helped a couple squads split. Got founder.
And I like that he brought that up because that's another thing too, is within the division, your rank was directly impacted by the merits that you achieved. So for instance, with Air Max, there were actually there was actually a, I guess you could say, a race for leadership within the division, because whenever the founder was being decided, it wasn't, hey, Air Max has been here the longest, or hey, so and so's been here longest. It was, okay, whoever has the most successful splits, whoever shows that they have the most knowledge and the most experience leading individuals, they're the ones that ultimately got moved up into the spots. Now, that's not to say that all my div staff didn't have the same leadership skills or anything like that. It's just saying that throughout the experience, through splitting squads, that is how they ended up going up the chains. They didn't end up going up the chains because they were, they're the longest. They didn't go up the chains because they were all my friends. They didn't go up the chains because, somebody else liked them or anything like that. They went up the chain of command and they went up the ranks based off of the merit, the achievements that they personally did while they were within the division.
And would you say that's something that kind of like sets your leadership apart? I'm sure you've had insight to the other divisions and stuff like that. I'm not using this as a compare yourself or compare this div to that div, because each one has their strengths and their weaknesses, and each one operates differently as to what works for them. But would you say, is that like something that set you apart from the other divisions?
Yeah, I would. I would definitely say that being able to give them all a goal to strive towards, being able to being able to tell them, hey, if you achieve and you build and you show that you're a great leader, then you can potentially step into these shoes. And by doing that, you're giving everybody a goal, because that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants to work towards a goal. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be, you know, somebody working, and I don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to hate on any jobs here, but you could be somebody working in the fast food industry. And if you're given a goal, or if there is a prize at the end of the road, you are going to work hard to achieve that goal, just the same way that the CEO of a company would work his butt off to grow that company to be something greater. There are a few that, obviously they just don't have any, you can't orientate them, and those aren't your leaders. But yes, as leadership, I believe that giving people a goal to work towards, giving them a set date or a set individualized goal even, definitely helps as far as growing things. I've done one of the things I like to do is I like to read, um, and I like to gain knowledge, uh, which in my personal life, I believe that every great leader, the more knowledge you have, the better you are. And one of the things I like to do is I do read leadership books. I've been through leadership classes, lots of those. And I bring those skills into here, knowing that implementing real life skills into this can actually help out and can help to grow everything. Now, people, you're not everybody's going to like you, and I get that. Um, and you're going to have a couple bad weeds, but yes, as a division leader, giving goals does indeed help to grow things. And the people who can't meet those goals are generally the ones who don't have any of that push. They don't know how to they don't know how to go about pushing themselves towards a goal. So they end up ultimately not achieving those ranks.
I like that. Too often, I think we see, at least in my previous experience in other communities, too often we see favorites being picked and things like that for certain ranks, and it's leaving the people who do put the effort in wondering like, well, what did I do wrong, right? And I like how you're taking merit over tenure, you're taking merit over are they your friend or not, and things like that. And I think honestly that strikes a deep chord for me. Like I said, in previous communities that I've been in, I've seen people get picked as favorites for positions and everything like that, despite we had goals to hit and certain people falling short of that goal, and then still seeing them get those roles and things like that. Chef, you
Uh,
have a unique perspective with this split, even though you're the co-host. What do you have to say as far as like your experience being a co-founder for Viking Horde in this lead up?
My experience was, I believe, a lot different from a normal experience. Uh, there was there was some mishaps and some issues that happened uh, during my time as a squad leader, which ultimately led me up to where I am now. Um, but I think that Heathen and Air Max and Blue really did do an amazing job of setting not only myself up, but the other co-founders, the other leaders, just set them up really for success. I can't think of any time that I didn't go to one of them to ask any questions or ask for help, or if I felt overwhelmed or any of those feelings that I was ever shot down or I was ever spoken to like I don't know what I'm doing. It was always let me help you, let me show you how to figure this out, and then they eventually would let me figure that out kind of with their help. Um, so here I am now as a co-founder for VH, and I mean, I love it. I love being able to give back to the community the same way that it was given back to me. And I think that that's something that these guys definitely should be applauded for and really recognized for, because without that training that they were able to give me and all of that help, I probably would not be the same co-founder that I am today, and I wouldn't be able to give back to the community the same way that I've been able to give back now.
Air Max, you got anything you want to add? Your perspective, your thoughts?
Um, yeah, I remember back when I first came back to KSI because not a lot of people know, but a lot of people know. I've been around KSI for since 2012. The first division I ever joined was 0 Degrees. That'll always be my number one division. But now I'm over here leading Viking Horde, and now this is my baby. Um, but yeah, as far as Chef, Chef, he's my right hand man. I've told him it multiple times, and when I first came here, he didn't really want to rank up. He wasn't into that stuff, and then he kind of seen the different opportunities that KSI had to offer, and that's when he started wanting to move up in ranks and join different departments. And as far as him saying how much we help each other and all that, I've always been the type of leader that where if somebody wants to rank up or somebody wants to learn something new and they reach out to me, I'm gonna make it happen. And as far as Heathen was saying as well, with or I believe it was you actually that were talking about the kind of the favoritism aspect of it. like you said, I've seen it here, I've seen it there, I've seen it in just about every clan that you would go into. There's going to be people that are going to try and weasel their way up. I've never been that type, and I've never let anybody kind of be that type around me. I've, in my experience, had multiple people come up to me and say, hey, look, I know how to do this, I know how to do this, I know how to do this, you should make me this rank. And I'm telling them straight up, like, you're not getting that rank. You want that rank? You show me you want that rank. We're not, my division, as long as I'm around and as long as I'm running it, it'll never be a division like that. And I'm not saying that that is, KSI today. I'm just saying that that has been, previous things in all clans. But yeah, I'm always willing to help anybody, and I'm 100% uh, not going to be suckered into letting somebody that's been around since, like, say 2005 just come in here and be like, hey, I deserve this spot. And I'm going to be like, all right, show me you deserve it.
Yeah.
I'm also very big on no favoritism. My experience throughout KSI when I first joined, I joined into a squad that, they very much showed a lot of favoritism. It was a mom and pop squad, is what I call it. The mom was the squad leader. The dad was well, at the time, it was the general. The dad was the major. Her kids made up the officer corps, which were your captains, and her nephews were the lieutenants. And the only spots that were open were a couple lieutenant spots until one of her nephews left and the captain spot opened up. And so we went forward, and it was a lot of nepotism, and that nepotism led to nothing but downfall. And ultimately, it left to the entire squad, with the exception of myself and 9 other people, leaving. Um, so that was a direct impact of favoritism. In inside of a community like this, there's no place for favoritism. You shouldn't show favoritism. We all have our friends. Matter of fact, my best friend, Nami7 or Nomi7, is in Helheim. We went through boot camp together. We've known each other for over 10 years. He's my best friend. However, if push comes to shove and he was an officer under my, lead, I'd demote him the same way I would demote anybody else. Actually, I'd probably demote him before I would demote anybody else because there's a higher expectation there for him. Which is generally what ends up happening, or what should end up happening whenever there are friends. Which for me, I would personally never even have a friend in my leadership. Not a friend like that that's so close that, it could cause issues. Because I'm a very firm believer that even if you don't think you're showing favoritism, it's a very good chance that if you're on a personal basis with that in some way, shape, or form, even unintentional, or as unintentional as it may be, there may be a little bit of favoritism there, which is why I let other leaders handle anybody that I have a personal relationship with.